Howdy, folks. I wanted to put together a short video today. Well, hopefully it's short. I wanted to go over some of the postmarks and specifically the ones that contain 039. I know this is nothing new to a lot of you people, and I'm not saying that this is a hint or anything for sure, but I just wanted to run it past you and then you can decide for yourself. Oh, first of all, in the thrill of the chase, Forrest has said that the memoir includes a true story about secret treasure and an outrageous dare. Unlock the clues that are scattered among these pages, and you can go home with a bronze chest that is so full of gold and precious jewelry that it's almost too heavy for one person to carry. Okay? And then, at the end of the poem in the book, he also says there are other subtle clues sprinkled in the stories. It was vital that nobody share my knowledge about the location of the treasure. Two people can keep a secret if one of them is dead. Now, first of all, he says sprinkled in the stories in the book. So he also mentions in the book about the borders and going out on the edge, right? So there are hints that are in the form of words, of course, but when he says sprinkled, the book is flooded with words. That's mostly what the content is, are words. So that's certainly not a definition of sprinkled, other than maybe when you see the red text or headings. But he's talking about things that are sprinkled. So what do we have sprinkled in the book? We have pictures sprinkled in the book. We have postmarks sprinkled in the book. We have page numbers that are near the edges. We have titles, chapter titles, that of course are bordered because there's a border underneath of them before the chapter text comes into play. So if he's saying look near the borders and the edges, he might be saying look at the postmarks, look at the pictures, look at the page numbers, look at the post stamps and so on. And all of those things have borders. The drawings have borders, the photos have borders, the post stamps have borders. Identification card has borders inside the cover. So those are the places that we might look. So in particular, I'm not going to discuss all of the postmarks. You can go on the internet and find that stuff all over the place. But I'm going to discuss 9 of them specifically, okay? Now, before I do that, I want to tell you that I know, before anybody says anything, that Forrest has already stated that he did not put the postmarks there. I think her name was Susan, one of the designers. Dal created a video of him working with the designers on the Too Far to Walk book. And Susan is one of the people that did it, right? So he liked the idea that she thought of, the postmarks. So even though he had nothing to do with it, we know that the author of a book obviously has influence over the artist. I mean, he's the creative mind behind the book. He's going to do things to influence them. And he could do it in such a way that they don't realize he's even doing it. For example, he could have went to Susan and said, boy, that's a great idea with those postmarks. But I got a suggestion for you. Can you at least make sure that, when you put them above the chapters, that the date is somehow tied to the chapter, because it'll kind of make sense that like this story is a postcard in a sense, right? So he basically just told her, he gave her an idea to make sure that the dates sort of match. She probably thought of that herself too, to be honest with you, because why wouldn't they, right? But they're there for design art, but he just influenced her, right? And if you don't think that Forrest has influence over the artists, you're wrong, because there's a picture in The Thrill of the Chase where he even says in the caption, with Skippy is inside of a Model B, I think. And he says, that's Skippy in the car. The smile is real. In other words, it's clearly when you look at that the photo, somebody put Skippy in that photo. Why it's done, I don't know. It may have just been as a joke. But an artist doesn't just go, and they may tweak photos to make them look better, right, and clean them up, but they're not going to go and cut an object out and slap, Forrest's brother in there without Forrest having something to do with it. So really, I'm not interested in discussing whether or not he had a direct impact, because his impact could be indirect. He directed the artist. Okay, so let's take a look at these postmarks here, uh, and I took a look at 039, and I went through with a magnifying glass, and most of them you could spot with a magnifying glass right in the pages, but there are two that are a little bit more difficult to find. However, if you look inside the cover where all the photographs are, you can get a better indication. And those, I think, were page 58 and 68 specifically. If you look in there, there's a picture of Forrest with Donnie, and they're holding a prized fish. And then I think on page 68 is Forrest laying on top of his horse, Lightning. Okay? You could get the 039s off of there. So when you go through the book and look at all of the postmarks, there's a lot of postmarks, but there's only 9 of them that have 039 on them. Okay? And I have here the page numbers in case you want to look at it. And here's the date of the postmark. In some cases, I put the real date here. Like on page 22, it's September 2nd, 1943. The real day is really Thursday, not Sunday. Okay? So these are the days here that he has on the postmarks whenever he has them. And then this is the real day that it would be. Okay? Now, if you're interested, 39 is going to show up a lot when you search on Google, because 39 is the HTML, and it's also the ASCII alt code for the apostrophe that we have here. And that's an illegal character in some contexts on the web. So it ends up showing it as a pound 39. So when you look on there, I mean, it may not be that big of a hint, but that's all it really means. And you can also tie it to the poem. The poem has 5 apostrophes in it. I'm not going to get into those right now, but I'm just putting it there for your information. And 39 is also the 39th week of the year, and it begins on October 1st. Okay, so these are the pages. You can look at them here. Now, the other thing with those pages is those pages have pictures. And these are in the same order that they are up here, 22 through 120. And on there, you can see that 22 is associated with Forrest. This page is associated with Forrest and his sister June. This one is Forrest and sister June. And then the grandparents are with other grandchildren in a different picture. Page 54 is Skippy. Page 58 is a picture of Forrest with Lightning. There's actually 2 pictures with him and Lightning. And then 68 is Forrest and Donnie. 108 is Forrest and Peggy. 118 is Forrest's father, Marvin. Forrest is not in here, just his father is. Page 120, again, is Forrest. Okay. These are the chapter names, again, in order. So we have page 22 is Jumpstarting a Learning Curve. And then Surviving Myself, In Love with Yellowstone, The Long Ride Home, Looking for Lewis and Clark, Stout-Hearted Men, Teachers with Ropes, Father on the Bonco, and Flywater. Those are the chapter names in order that they appear. And all this stuff is all obviously associated with the 39, because that's the same page that the 39 is on. It's not on all the chapters, and it's not on all of the postmarks. Now, these are the locations that he mentions on all of them. And it usually appears as text that's on its side going vertical. And here we have Central Junior High, Temple, Texas, West Yellowstone, somewhere in Wyoming, somewhere in Montana, College Station, Santa Fe, North Main Street, Madison River. Okay? Those are the locations. These are the drop caps that are on those same pages. I put parentheses around the letter that's bold. So we have in, I, my, one, a, when, because, one, and when. Okay? Now, when you look at all of these things, does anything stand out? A lot of things stand out to me, and I'm going to point out a couple of them in particular. The rest of them are up for you to find, okay? So, for example, the 6th sentence in the poem is, so why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. The 7th sentence is the answers to that question. The answers I already know because I've done it tired and now I'm weak. Well, if you look here, the seventh word is because. Could it be, and that's actually the Teachers with Ropes chapter, could it be that Teachers with Ropes contains the real answers as to, why, or the answer to this question? Okay? Or how about this one? In the whole book, all the time, Forrest's father is constantly teaching him new things. Forrest remarks about that. His dad was a mentor to him. His dad gave him his street smarts. Okay? So the eighth sentence in the poem is, so listen all and hear me good. Now Forrest mentions the fox disguised as a hound, right? And he would just sit there and listen, right? Well, the eighth sentence of the poem is Father on the Banco, which has his father in there. Could he be the one? Right? Father on the Banco chapter is in line with so listen all and hear me good. Your effort will be worth the cold, right? So listen all and hear me good. Well, you know what I mean. The eighth sentence in the poem, the eighth chapter in the list of words. Okay? So again, those are just interesting things that I pointed out. You may see more here. And all of this ties into the fact that I've been discussing in various videos now that the poem is designed to be used as a table of contents to the book. Okay? The poem leads you through the book in an order that is not natural. In other words, opening the book up and read it from beginning to end. I don't think you're going to find hints that way. You're going to find nothing but rabbit holes. You're trying to shortcut the system. You're looking for easy ways, as if going through the book and reading the Gatsby or Beltos is going to provide some magic light bulb. It isn't. People have tried that. It hasn't worked. Okay? I'm not saying that stuff is not hints. It's it may be, right? But the point is, what I'm trying to focus on here is let the poem take you to places. Okay? Look for things on those places that are unique. These 9 things are unique in that book. And there's other things that are unique that I have not heard mentioned anywhere before. And I haven't mentioned them anywhere. And I probably won't mention them anywhere because they're pretty big hints. But they're there. And you can see them. Okay? And this is not the only thing that's unique. There are many, many things that are in there. And there's also ways to tie them back to the poem. Now, I still believe that the first stanza, like I said before, we know it's not a clue, but to me, it is a hint that is telling you to use the memoir. Okay? His stories are his treasures. His stories are his memories. The idea of the memoir is to write about his memories. And sprinkled in those stories are the hints that we seek. So why not use the poem to get them? For example, Where Warm Waters Halt is in the book. Okay? Now, you could read the poem and say, begin the memoir Where Warm Waters Halt. You got to find that, but there are some hints in there that are going to help you do that. Okay? For example, and this is my opinion here, but an interpretation is when he tells you, begin where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk. He's talking about a distance in time. Because in Too Far to Walk, when he describes the reason why he was never able to make it the trip down the Madison River again is because of time. It has nothing to do with 10 miles. It has nothing to do with the Madison River. It's because he was much younger at the time he made the trip with the boat down the Madison River that took 3 days. He just simply can't do that anymore. So look at the thrill of the chase. It's a memoir. The stories are organized by what? By time. Postmarks are there for what? As an indication of time. So is when he mentions the year in the text. So when he says that the distance is not far but too far to walk, he could be telling you that the distance between where warm waters halt in the book and the canyon down is an extreme distance. It could be that maybe even read the book backwards. Maybe where warm waters halt is at the end, okay, because he's talking about death, okay, and the canyon down is way in the beginning of the book. It's an extreme distance in time. Okay? The chapters are not going to be back to back between where Warm Water halts and the canyon down. And now I've just given you, another example where I put, he has the word because, okay, which is the seventh word, and because is teaches with ropes. And that is what I mean when he says, so why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know. Well, he knows the answers, and he's telling you those answers in the memoir. So is it possible that this word, this drop cap, because, is a hint that he's going to answer that question in Teachers with Ropes? Now, as far as using that hint in there to map it to the real world, there are many, that's the subjective part. I have my ideas, and I could show you a few more of them. Unfortunately, if I do that, I may as well just give you my solve. But I think I'm giving you enough information here that it'll become obvious to you when you do this. I mean, you got to understand the poem. That's the whole reason why I did the diagram of the poem. People like to throw the word simplify around. Other YouTubers are doing it, and people are doing it on the forums, but I don't really think they know what the word means. Okay? People have tried to look at the poem at face value. That's about as simple as you can get. But that's what we've been doing for 8 years, and it doesn't work. Okay? So clearly, what's probably going on here is there is no one-to-one correlation with the poem and the map. Okay? Beginning where Warm Water's halt, you're going to be looking forever on the map. You may stumble on it. Sure, it's possible. But why not learn what Forrest thinks is where Warm Water's halt and where Forrest thinks the canyon is? Don't you think that those hints, okay, once used, are going to remove the vagueness of the clue in the poem and tell you what you're really looking for on the map? So without using the book, okay, you're kind of trying to shoot in the dark, all right? So I think, the answers are in the book, and everything is indirect. In a sense, the clues need to be translated through the memoirs, okay? But let the poem, and this is why I did the poem diagramming. A lot of people out there are spouting off at the mouth, and they don't know what they're talking about, all right? They think that I'm complicating it. That is not true, okay? If anything, when you take an algebra problem, for example, and you simplify it, it's still an algebra problem. It's still an equation that's going to be difficult to solve if you don't know algebra. Okay? Well, in order to solve a textual puzzle, it makes sense that you understand what the author wrote. And in order to do that, diagramming helps you visualize the context that's being used in the poem. You'll know the adjectives, you'll know the verbs, you'll know, the adverbs, and all of that comes into play in order to use the dictionary to find proper definitions. But Forrest has told us over and over again to read the book and the poem. That's because I feel he wants you to take the book and find out the real meaning of the clues before you go to the dictionary. Okay? Now, I'm going to bring it up again. Punctuation is important. Now, my video that I did about the first stanza, I did not modify the poem at all. I didn't put any commas there. I also did not question Forrest's writing. He knows that. I know that. And he's done 2 scrapbooks on the topic, 178 and 188. And he's purposely being sarcastic by removing the commas by telling you, why do you think I put them in the poem in the first place? Clearly they are not meant to be ignored. You have to read the poem the way Forrest wrote it. There's no point in debating what's right or wrong. There's only one correct way to read it, and that's the way Forrest wrote it. If you don't want to read it the way Forrest wrote it, and you want to do your own thing and go down the canyon, be my guest. But you are messing with this poem. All right? I'm not even going to debate that point anymore. it's pointless. Okay, if people aren't going to agree with me, you might as well just ignore my videos. But I'm telling you that the poem is the most important thing here, and you have to understand that poem, and you can't do it by just looking up individual words. You have to know the context that the word was used in order to pull a proper definition. That's how a dictionary is used. There's many more intelligent people out there than me. I dropped out of school and ended up getting a GED. And I took it upon myself to go and learn this stuff. When Forrest is talking about grammar and the fact that he doesn't like it, okay, he's telling you that he knows the rules, because you can't break the rules if you don't know what they are in the first place. Okay, he's challenging you to find the rules and find out where he may have bent them. Okay, if you don't know the rules, you're never going to find that. You're never going to understand the context. Okay, and if you're going to ignore the thrill of the chase, that's another pointless discussion. We can argue all day whether or not the book's required or not. Forrest already told us it's not required. Okay, but like I like to say, a blind man can also hit a bullseye. Okay, given enough time. So what you want to do is ignore me. Ignore all the other YouTubers. Ignore all the forums and do what Forrest said. If he tells you good research material is the thrill of the chase, then you should be using it. Okay? It's pointless to listen to anybody else. He's right out telling you. Okay? He's also telling you that eventually you're going to need a dictionary. That's why he talks about the word several. You know, he's telling you. And he's also telling you sometimes words are not in a dictionary, or sometimes he misspelled them on purpose. So he's basically telling you to look for that kind of stuff. So if you don't know the rules, how on earth do you expect to find it? Okay. So anyway, I hope that this video helps somebody. And in the comments below, be sure to add your thoughts on this, or add anything else that you might see by looking at this video here. Okay. And if you like this video, please click like and please subscribe, and also pass this link around so that other people can see this. I'm trying to provide you with stuff and it may not sound like it, but I am simplifying. This is the definition of simplifying the poem. Okay. Sitting there and reading the clues and coming up with random locations in various states on the map of what it might be is a waste of time. Because your opinion and my opinion of where warm water salt is meaningless. We want to know where Forrest thinks where warm water salt. And that you're going to find in the thrill of the chase. Have a great day. Goodbye.